Good morning. I don't think that I spoke to the camera this weekend. And why did I not speak to the camera? Well, firstly, Saturday I took Nana to the theatre again, and yeah, it was a bit of a disaster. I think it just shows in my head like the difference between like how unpredictable Alzheimer's can be. Like I say, we went to see Annie last week and she was singing along and loving it. And then a local theatre group were doing Legally Blonde the musical, which I really wanted to see. I'm obsessed with the soundtrack. And yeah, it didn't go down too well. Before we went in, I had said to her, did she want to go to the toilet? No. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Do you not think you can just squeeze? I feel like I'm talking to a child sometimes, and then I feel bad because I don't want to infantilise her, but you'll see why in a minute. I'm sure you already know where this is going. So to get to our seats, we had to go down in a lift, and about 15 minutes into the first act, she says, oh, I could really do with a wee. I said, do you think you'll be able to hold out to the interval? Yeah, that'll be fine. It didn't help that the man next to her as well was man-spreading. I was this close to being like, excuse me, dude. And I was planning at the interval to say, look, can you just be a little bit more careful because, you know, you're taking up half of her seat as well. And she was waiting, and then we just had to abandon and take her to the toilet. And I felt so awkward because we were on the front row, and luckily we didn't have to like disturb anyone to get her out. But like, obviously, I know that people would understand, but also at the same time, it was like my anxiety gets up. And so took her to the toilet, and I could tell she wasn't enjoying it. So we decided to bail at half time. And like, I was annoyed, not at her, but at the whole situation. So Tom came and picked us up, and I said to him after, she came home, had a cup of tea, went to bed, and told Tom that she'd really enjoyed it. So I really wanted to see it. And so we've decided from now on that I will take her to see shows that I know she's either seen before or she knows the songs. I don't know whether she just couldn't keep up with the storyline or anything, but that was that. And then yesterday I was just in a flare. I talked recently on Instagram about it being like a social hangover, and after I think such a run of good days, I was really annoyed yesterday to feel so poorly. So went back to bed for a couple of hours in the afternoon, and that was that. I've just been having a little bit of a rant in my head again because Nana watches a lot of, like, she watches This Morning and Loose Women and things, and they keep talking on This Morning about sensitivity readers. And so it started off with the Roald Dahl thing, and obviously I am a massive fan of Roald Dahl books as a child. Matilda is me, but I understand that they are problematic. But I don't agree with reprinting them and changing it. Firstly, changing the word fat to enormous because they thought that fat would be an offensive word, but enormous was fine. Whoever made that decision, I don't know. But why reprint old classics and change them when we've got such a wealth of new authors that write amazingly inclusive books? Why? You know what I mean? Why don't we just stop promoting Roald Dahl to kids and pick up some of the fantastic new books? We don't need to kind of whitewash and sensitivity wash all the old texts. Like, we just need to be promoting authors that aren't problematic in this day and age. Like, to me, it is that simple. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, like today's one, they're arguing about fairy tales and saying, oh, for God's sake, kids love fairy tales. Well, yeah, they might do, but when you're a kid that looks more like an ugly stepsister than Cinderella, you're being told that the only way to get your prince, and it's always a prince, is to be thin and blonde and pretty. Like, the ugly stepsisters don't have a happy ending. Fat is for the villains, not the heroines. So yeah, that's my little rant. Reading wise, I am still reading about 15 books at once. I've put myself together a little bit of a plan this week to try and get some finished. So we'll see how that goes. I am still really, really loving Get a Life, Chloe Brown. You know, the one that I was meant to read in January for the sister along, and I'm still reading now in March when I should be on to Eve by now. But that's part of my plan. I have a plan to finish Chloe this week, read Danny next week, and then Eve the week after. There's nothing like a deadline to really get a rocket up my backside. I think when I first read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, I was kind of in the beginning of my chronic illness journey, and I didn't click with Chloe as much as I am now. Although yesterday I was lying in bed because I wasn't feeling very well, listening to the audiobook, and it was a rather spicy scene, and I suddenly heard Nana's frame in the corridor as she was coming to the toilet, and I thought, I scrambled to turn it off, she doesn't need to hear this. But yeah, I think that's all I've got to say for you for today. I will come back if I have anything exciting to tell you. Any, like I always say, books finished. I looked at Storygraph this morning and it's the 6th of March today, and I've read 618 pages in March. So I am still sticking to my my goal this year was to read 100 pages a day. I'm just reading it over so many books that I've not got any to tell you about that I finished. So that's that. Plans for this week, today and tomorrow, are pretty low-key days. I then have choir on Wednesday. Thursday, we are supposed to be going to an afternoon tea. One of Nana's, where Nana used to live, they're having an afternoon tea for their 50th wedding anniversary, and they've invited Nana and I along, which is really lovely. And Thursday night I am hopefully going to Jinsel's with Stacey, but looked at the weather forecast this morning and we've got a 60% chance of heavy snow. Now, where I live, we get cut off when it snows. It hasn't snowed since we've lived in the bungalow, but even the main roads around here I don't know, we have kind of a separate microclimate, I think. After that, Friday, I'm just going to chill, and then it'll be the end of another week. So I'm going to stop waffling now, and I will come back to you when I read something, DNF something, have any little nugget of information to tell you. Yeah. And there's a couple on the shelf. Bear in mind these are brand new books, and somebody had already bent the spine back, and I just don't know how people do it. I don't know how somebody goes into a shop and bends the spine back on a book for someone else to buy. It really annoyed me.